This is the fight that people really want to see. Toto Wolff, Christian Horner, head to head in a Squid Game showdown. Okay, that's a bit much. Maybe just a boxing match? Normally, F1 championships are full of narrative. It's about telling a story or describing a series of events. For F1, this means teammates fighting for the title, two teams at the top of their game, or an older champion meeting a young and hungry champion in waiting. And then along came 2021 and introduced a rivalry between two of the most successful team principals in the modern era. A rivalry so fierce that you get the very strong wiff that they absolutely despise each other. Well, I kind of get that more from one of the team principals than the other, but we'll maybe address that later on. Now, I want to dive into the real reason why I think things have got so bad between Toto and Christian, who I think is the better team principal and all-round petrolhead. Let me know in the comment section, who do you think is better, Toto or Christian? The winner for the best comment on this video comes from Samuel Santos. Send me a DM to collect your free winner's t-shirt. Toto and Christian couldn't be any more different personality wise. One is like a George Russell, extremely polished and comes across as extremely natural. The other is like a Fernando Alonso, who is a little bit more fiery and tends to be more blunt. I've based a lot of this on pure facts, but also what vibe they give me in general and how well they come across. The Christian Horner fans are probably thinking right now he's in big trouble after what he's been up to last year, but you'll be surprised, so let's start. Who's had the harder route to making it to the top? Let's be clear, they are both outright hustlers. Christian had family, rich friends in his network, and founded his own Formula 3000 team, which is now modern day F2, winning 3 out of the 4 championships that he competed in, which is extremely impressive, but also takes massive guts. So that's a point for Christian for doing that in the lower formula with 0 experience. He also took a down and struggling Jaguar F1 team and transformed them into a championship winning team, which is again extremely mad. Not many people are capable of doing that. So that's another point for Christian Horner. So that's 2-0 to Christian. Toto will have his chance to come back. Comparing Toto's route into F1, he was basically an investor in the Mercedes DTM team. Through this direct relationship with Daimler, he got his opportunity to give his opinion on why Mercedes at the time weren't doing better. What is very interesting is how Ross Brawn describes the way that things turned out with that dynamic. Brawn is stated as saying that he couldn't trust Niki Lauda or Toto Wolff after people were being brought into the team, and that Brawn didn't approve of these people. There was a lot of he says, she says, but ultimately there can only be one boss, and Brawn knew that deep down, hence him stepping away from the team. So yeah, the way that Toto got into his role wasn't the most traditional, and based on what Brawn has said, was a bit strange. Toto got into his role once the foundations for success were already in place. He basically bought into a team as an investment and sustained the success, a far different proposition to what Christian Horner managed to achieve. So no point for Toto here. How hard was it for them to win during their periods of dominance and beyond? Looking at Christian Horner's periods where he wasn't necessarily the most successful team principal or team, from 05 to 09, there were 4 different world champions from 4 separate teams, and from 2009 to 2014, despite winning 4 titles in a row, they weren't all plain sailing for all those years. Red Bull won 49% of races from all available races, which was nowhere near as many as I thought or remembered. So I feel like it was extremely competitive for Christian Horner and his Red Bull team, especially compared to Toto during his period of dominance at Mercedes. And looking from 2013 to 2020 for Mercedes and Toto, there has been pretty much a complete and utter dominance from Mercedes, where they won 64% of all races available, which dwarfs the win rate of Red Bull from 2009 to 2013. Despite winning 4 titles in a row, they weren't all plain sailing for all of those years. And I know they aren't identical ranges of data, but it is what it is. So it can be argued that Toto faced far less competition, given that there have only ever been 2 teams that have won whilst he's been in charge, Red Bull and Mercedes, where Christian has had a lot more. Or you could argue that Toto has just been that good at managing and sustaining that success. For me, Christian gets another point for winning under more pressure, but I think Toto also deserves a point for being able to sustain that success for so long. Longer than the Red Bulls up until 2013, and longer than Ferrari by the end of 04. So at the moment, that's 3-1 to Christian Horner. And this leads to answering one of the first questions. Why has it been so bad for Christian and Toto this year? Toto and Christian both entered the sport in very different ways. Christian knows that he's had to work so hard from the ground up to build his success. Him seeing someone just effectively buy into a team that's already had tons of investment already and work hard himself but come along to take all the glory, I think it must be extremely painful for him to watch, knowing how hard he worked to get Red Bull to where they are. It hasn't really been a fair playing ground when you look at how much Ferrari and Mercedes have spent in the last decade. I know that Red Bull are now spending loads of money and they do have a very rich owner, but the spending other than 2021 has been nowhere near the same level as Mercedes or Ferrari. Now let's look at the stats and see who ultimately comes out on top. So clearly, on pure matter of fact, who has won more championships? Toto's going to come out on top with this one. Toto has been at the helm when Mercedes have won 7 constructors and drivers championships versus Christian's 4. So that's a point for Toto. So that's 3-2 to Christian Horner still. When you look more deeply into the numbers, we can see that across the 12 years that Red Bull have been competitive and winning, so from about 2009, they have won 64 races all the way up until 2020. I'm not really including 2021 stats in this. For the 9 years that Mercedes have been competitive, they've won 102 races, which is quite a vast difference. Another figure is the average percentage of race wins per year. For Red Bull, they have won 27.88% since being competitive, whilst Mercedes on average have won 59.44% on races in any given year since being competitive. But some may say it's not fair because it's not comparing dominant periods, so let's swap out some of the data. If we swap out Red Bull for only the period where they were able to win a large number of races in any given season, let's say more than 4, they have an average race win percent per year of 49.84%, which is still significantly lower than the Mercedes at 59.44%. So this one, on pure numbers, Toto's definitely got that point. So the score is Christian 3, Toto 2. Likeability factor, the reason why I was prompted to do this video, this is really looking at how well or badly they come across. And I'll be honest with you, up until the last few years in F1, I've not really thought much about Christian. He's been incredibly polished and reserved, and he really hasn't had the limelight since winning his last championship in 2013. He's just really come across as another team principal. As Mercedes have become more dominant and Ferrari have been fairly inconsistent, Red Bull have really stepped up and become the main challengers. And boy, does Christian love to talk. He is the master of telling compelling motorsport stories for his team and drivers. Well, some of them. Red Bull have really stepped up to be the main challengers. This season though, he's really gone beyond anything we have seen. He has an opinion on everything Mercedes related. He's become well and truly engulfed in the Mercedes fumes and anything they do. There's a reason for this though. It's because he knows that this is the chance to do something truly special, take his team to his second wave of potential championships, end the Mercedes dominance, and crown Max Verstappen as one of the most exciting world champions we've ever seen. Here is the reason why I feel it's been so bad this year, or it just feels extremely tense. And I don't blame anyone for calling him a bit of a coward either, because he often goes over the line and makes my ears bleed with all his complaining. But this is him. He's got to the stage where he's so confident in himself that he doesn't really care what people think. If it leads to 1/10 of an advantage over Mercedes, Toto and Lewis, winning is what counts for him. As for Toto, he is one smooth Donny. He knows how to impress. He's very calm 98% of the time, and it comes across very well. Very rarely do we see him becoming overly emotional, but this year in 2021 it's definitely happened. With both of them, I take what they say with a massive pinch of salt, but you can't really ignore how it comes across. And Toto is doing a far better job PR-wise than Christian. Despite Christian wearing his heart on his sleeve, you can't really give him a point for it. So that's a point for Toto. Christian 3, Toto 3. And you thought it was going to be a tie. Well, there is one area that Christian absolutely wipes the floor with Toto, and it's the Red Bull Driver Academy. For me, it's another area where he has really excelled. I discussed this in this video. Almost a third of all drivers came from the Red Bull Driver Academy or had driven for one of Christian Horner's or Red Bull teams. There's also the fact that there are Red Bull drivers that haven't even been successful in F1 that have gone on to have very successful careers elsewhere. This means that Christian and the Red Bull Driver Academy play such an important role in the F1 and the motorsport driver market, something that no other team does like them. And ultimately, it's the Driver Academy and that legacy that separates Christian and Toto for me. Christian 4, Toto 3. Do let me know who you think is better out of these two. Is it Toto? Is it Christian? I really want to know. Thanks to everyone for watching. Until next time.